This is episode 38 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Teams around the league seem pretty much done with free agency for the time being while they look ahead toward the draft. So we're putting together a checkpoint at this point to see where the Bengals and Browns are this week in terms of like the salary cap and what they can still do once the draft is over, taking a look at how much draft picks are expected to cost and how that affects their current remaining salary cap. And but there's one team that we know that seems to barely even be able to afford the draft picks that they do have to their decimated roster. Because why, Thomas?
The Steelers still suck.
Damn right. Steelers still suck.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
All right. So before we get started in all this, I would like to go ahead and do a segment that I've been missing a while. Just can't be doing a lot because we've had to, because of scheduling conflicts and stuff, we've had to do this a lot while I'm in the middle of work, and I can't drink while I'm doing my job because I, drive for FedEx, and that's illegal and also dangerous. So yeah, we haven't really been getting very good beer segments in there very long, but why don't you tell me what you're drinking today, Thomas? Because I can actually participate today.
Today I am drinking.
Oh, we got the paper bag.
Oh god, I just went to the liquor store. But today I'm drinking a Bud Light lemonade. I was looking for a drink to drink today, and I was thinking, look, there's a lot of different beers I could have chose from. But then I seen this Bud Light lemonade, and this was the best individual beer. I almost bought a Heineken today, guys. You almost caught me drinking a Heineken. But I decided not to. I decided Heineken is like the beer that, like, you know, like the boys, like we go to college, like frat boys and stuff. Like they grow up and start drinking Heineken. So anyway,
I like Heineken.
Yeah. So this is Bud Light lemonade.
that seems to me like something that like ex frat boys would drink.
No, like this seems like something ex frat girls would drink. Well, so or sorority girls, so I say.
So how does it compare to Mike's Hard Lemonade?
I don't know. Let's try it.
It tastes like beer.
Not bad. Just tastes like
it's Bud Light, so I can't imagine your expectations were too high.
It tastes like Bud Light with an aftertaste of lemon. That's all it tastes like.
That might not be bad. That might be better than Mike's Hard Lemonade, actually.
I do like this more than Mike's Hard Lemonade already. I don't mind it. I actually sip this. I had a strawberry margarita earlier today, and yes.
I can't do margarita. I can't do tequila. It doesn't taste right to me.
I can't want the strawberry margarita form. That margarita smack.
So I'm drinking an interesting thing I've never seen before. I found it at the Jungle Gym's craft section. It's called the Scotsman Scotch Ale.
How Scotch is it?
Do what?
How Scotch is it?
Well, it's pretty Scottish. It's made in Kentucky. Scotsman is a traditional Scotch ale with a dark ruby color and off-white head. That's what she said. It has a malt aroma of candied dark fruits with a sweet taste similar to figs and raisins. I'm going to be drinking figs and raisins? That doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah, you go ahead and eat them figs, drink them figs.
That doesn't taste a thing like figs and raisins. What? What on earth? It's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
What?
Decent.
What are never mind.
Tastes more like tastes like caramel almost. Like a really, really light caramel, not like a I am not getting where the hell they're getting figs and raisins from. That is much deeper than that. I'm gonna say it ain't no porter, but that ain't fruity. What the fuck? No. And by no, I mean I disagree with the description. Not no, that's bad because that's not it's decent. Not the best beer I've ever had, but it's pretty good.
It's okay. It's all right. Are you satisfied?
I would buy it again.
You would buy it again?
I would buy it again. That's the highest compliment I think I can give it. I'm not particularly bouncing off the walls over it, but if I see it again, I'll probably pick it up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and transition into our first segment then. Like I said in the intro, we're focusing on remaining cap space today and what can potentially be done with that. So the Bengals, for example, I've seen a lot of people kind of pointing out that like, oh, the Bengals have 20 million, an estimated $20.1 million in cap space. That number I found on Over the Cap. I've seen people throwing out various numbers, but according to Over the Cap, it's $20.1 million in estimated cap space available right now. People see that and they're like, oh, are we just gonna roll all that over? Is that like are we just not gonna spend any of that money? And the thing you got to remember is a lot of that money has to be reserved for draft picks because I mean the Bengals are going to have 8 draft picks this year.
Wow. That's more than 7.
Yeah, well, I mean we got an extra we got an extra 7th round pick for Carlos Dunlap, and somehow we have an extra 6th round pick. I'm not actually sure exactly how that worked out.
Maybe because
no, you know what? We got a 6th round pick for Ryan Finley. That's how that happened. So
I was going to say maybe it's because the draft is in Ohio.
I don't think so, but anyway, for the Bengals to sign all their draft picks, the estimated cap number they're going to need to spend on draft picks is about $9 million. So I see where people are coming from. They see that $20.1 million and they're like, why aren't we still signing people? We still got a lot of holes on this roster. At the very least, it'd be nice to bring in some help for Trey Hendrickson, because if we don't bring in help for him, he's going to have the same problem Carl Lawson had last year, right? Now, that like I said, that $20.1 million is a little deceptive because they need almost half of that to sign their draft picks. But it does still leave about like $11 million or whatever in cap space. It definitely leaves enough for one more impact signing and probably another signing on top of that. Are there any more impact players available out there that are going to come to the Bengals? Maybe not. But, I mean, come on, guys. We need a little bit more work done on this offensive line, at least. So I do agree with people seeing that, like, that's a lot of cap space. It's maybe not as much cap space as people are thinking it is, but it is enough that it's like, oh no, I'm sorry. It's I got my numbers backwards. It's $11 million that the Bengals would need to sign their draft picks, and $9 million they would have available in cap space. So like I said, still enough for one impact signing and probably another one on top of that. Especially considering who's available.
I would probably. Y'all gotta do something for the offensive line, right? Bring in somebody, right? Like I can't just like go the rest of the offseason without addressing it at all.
Well, I mean, the idea, it sounds like they're really going to focus on hitting on offensive line in the draft. That's what I understand. Whether it's Penei Sewell in the but by the way, you really want the Bengals to draft Kyle Pitts. It's probably not going to happen at this point. Doesn't sound like the Bengals are interested in him at all. So it's probably going to be Sewell or Chase.
But there's a good chance that 4th pick in the draft would be a quarterback.
Well, yes. That's actually a little bit interesting news. We can talk about that in a second, though. Because cool. I do want to put a little bit of emphasis on that. But before we get into that, you got a good point. I think it would be really nice if the Bengals would sign at least one more, like an interior lineman. Because if you just make one more signing, and I think you're good going into the draft. Because I mean, you still need to spend some capital in the draft. But I think you've got a good base to build some draft capital on top of, and then you've got a good competition going to see if you can put some really good offensive line talent around Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I wish they would do a little bit more, because if they don't, then they're going to have to spend a lot of draft capital on offensive line, and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself like that. I mean, it's good that we got Riley Reef, but that's not enough.
You gotta do something. You gotta do something. You gotta do something. You gotta do something because first of all, I'm one of the people who think I'm of the mind. Excuse me, thinking that
there's the raisin. I taste it now. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm of the mind to think I'm of the mind that the Bengals have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs next year. And if I'm the Bengals front office, I don't want to. Your quarterback just went down with a gruesome injury last year. I don't want to do anything to risk that happen again. Granted, that was a freak accident. That could have happened whether you had a good offensive line or not. But you don't want to run that risk again. Like, Joe Burrow with the franchise. You don't want him to have 2 catastrophic injuries back-to-back years. That's the worst thing that can happen to your franchise. The worst thing that can happen to your fan base. The worst thing that can happen to you. Don't let that happen, Bengals. Don't let that happen. And if it means driving Penny Sewell over one of those LSU receivers or Alabama receiver or Kyle Pitts, I mean, maybe you have to do that. Maybe you have to think long term. But that's why I think the best option for the Bengals is to trade down, because I think if you trade down, you get 2 really good offensive line. You get address 2 positions, and get extra high draft pick. That's why I think trading down is the best option.
That's the thing. You can go get Rashawn Slater, I think, and you can trade down and still get Rashawn Slater, which, I mean, I think Penny Sewell is a better prospect than Rashawn Slater. I'm not one of those people who thinks Rashawn Slater is the better prospect, but I do think that he's a good enough prospect that I'd be okay with trading down and getting him instead of Penny Sewell, and then you get a haul on top of him. Now, I will say there's a question about whether or not there's going to – I mean, first of all, I just want to go ahead and say the Bengals don't seem like they're interested in trading down at all in the first place. So this is kind of a weird discussion to be having. But something that we alluded to earlier, and we're going to talk about now, is the trade between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Jets to send Sam Darnold to Carolina, which pretty much guarantees it's a blessing and a curse for Bengals fans, because there's a segment of Bengals fans who would love to have the pick of the litter in the NFL draft, and this pretty much guarantees the Jets are going to go quarterback in the first round. So you got 1, 2, 3 almost guaranteed to be cornerbacks, and then we'll see what maybe the Falcons take a quarterback, maybe the Falcons trade to somebody who wants a quarterback. Personally, I'm thinking that they're going to take Penny Sewell. So I don't even think he's going to make it to the Bengals in the first place. But that Sam Darnold trade, on one level, like I said, it solidifies the fact that there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round before the Bengals pick at number 5. But on the flip side, it also kind of makes the idea of trading down really difficult, because it's like, who are you going to trade down with at this point? Yeah, Carolina was like the ideal candidate. You only have to trade down to number 8. And then, you could still probably get one of those premier prospects. Now, if you want to trade down, it's probably going to have to be like, to the Broncos, who I believe have the number 9 overall pick. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Looks like the Broncos do, in fact, have the number 9 overall pick. So if they're going to trade up to get rid of Drew Lock, then maybe you can trade down with them. Again, the Bengals probably aren't trading down anyway, so this is all hypothetical. Maybe trade down with the Broncos at number 9, and then maybe you're getting Rashawn Slater at that point. And like I said, I wouldn't be too upset. If the Bengals get a really good haul, then it's like, sure, let's go trade down, and I'll take Rashawn Slater. He looked really good. He, played against Chase Young. He played against a lot better competition than Penny Sewell did. But I think the big thing for me, and I've mentioned on this podcast before, is I think you can get good enough offensive line talent to put around Joe Burrow in the second and third round of the draft. I don't think you need to do it in the first round. And I'm starting to come around to your perspective on things, that I think Kyle Pitts would be a great guy to take. unfortunately, I'm starting to feel more and more like it's not going to happen, and no matter how much we want them to.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that it's either going to be I can't realization that it's either going to be that receiver out of LSU, Jamar Chase, or Penny Sewell. And I really like, as much as I want them to take Kyle Pitts, both of those players are very good players. But you know what I mean. But it seems like the good thing about the Bengals is the Bengals are the best player in the draft, not a quarterback. So congratulations. I'm almost certain the first 4 picks in the draft is probably going to be quarterback. It's seeming like it's just so predictable NFL. It's just so predictable NFL. Like it's just so predictable draft talk. Like you start off with all the quarterbacks being later in the draft, and then as you get closer, it's oh yeah, it's gonna be it got to be quarterback. But I think well, all that said, yeah, as much as Jamar Chase excites me, as much as Kyle Pitts excites me, it looks like the Bengals. I'm going back to my original theory about the Bengals taking Penny Sewell. It looks like the fan base is already kind of come to terms with that. So you can draft him, not worry about the fan base getting mad. You're protecting Joe Burrow. It helps your offensive line. That's an option. You draft a offensive lineman in the second round. Personally, I still think the Bengals should try and get an offensive line. I think the Bengals can get 2 really good offensive linemen in this draft. They go offensive lineman second and third round. I think they get 2 really good offensive linemen in the draft. They did that. But I think if you get a second and third round offensive lineman, they can start next year and they'd be very solid for you. Maybe better than what you had last year.
See, the thing is, again, to get back to what we were talking about with the salary cap space, you can still get some pretty good offensive linemen with the cap space you have. I mean, there's guys out there.
Exactly.
Larry Warford, for example. You could probably sign him for about $5 million a year. You got Bobby Massey. I know he's an offensive tackle, but he's also getting a little older. Maybe move him inside. Another guy you could get for probably about $5 million a year. Mike Remmers from the Chiefs, same salary figures. Lane Taylor from the Packers, that'd be a cheaper option. Wouldn't be as good of an option, but he'd be a much cheaper option. There's guys out there available, and you've got the salary cap space to do it. So, like I said, I do get on some level why you'd be going after some of these people. Actually, interestingly enough, speaking of the Bengals in free agency, a guy the Bengals reportedly are still interested in going after is Geno Atkins. It was actually Duke Tobin was talking to Dan Horde on the Bengals Booth podcast the other day, and it sounds like the Bengals are still open to a reunion with Geno Atkins. Now, here's the thing. It's going to have to, from my perspective, it would have to there's no word if Geno's interested in returning, but if he is, it would have to be a severely reduced amount of money, which, I mean, that's why they cut him, so it would be anyway. But it would also have to come with the understanding that there's no honorary starting position here for you anymore. You're probably going to be a depth rotational piece at best, unless you earn your way back. And he's still Geno, he's still great. It'd be awesome to see him in that role again, but just he hasn't looked like that in quite a while. So I think he's gonna have to earn his way onto the roster in the offseason, just like everybody else. If he is brought back. But if he is brought back, that would be awesome. Because apparently he's Larry Ogunjobi's mentor. Mm-hmm. And, since he's here in Cincinnati now, it'd be great to have those two on the same team. If anything, just for like a mentorship type thing. And a good backup option in Geno Atkins.
By the way, y'all gonna love Larry Ogunjobi. I want to say that.
I've always been a big fan of Larry Ogunjobi. I've always thought whenever I played Madden, he was always one of the guys I would go after in free agency to bring to the Bengals. And funnily enough, I was doing that to give Geno Atkins a compliment so that Geno Atkins could do more of his thing. And the sad thing is, by the time we brought Larry Ogunjobi in, Geno Atkins was already pretty much done.
Isn't that the best thing about Madden though? Playing the GMO, that's not here or there. But yeah, I think Yeah, no, I mean, like that'd be fun. It's always great um to bring somebody back right before y'all go on this little playoff run. He probably he probably play that much more tougher because the Bengals are good again. He probably want to relive the glory of what the Bengals were a couple years ago. I mean, it wasn't that
The
long ago that the Bengals had one of the best teams in the league
yeah.
before getting knocked out of playoffs unfairly by the Steelers. I remember that game.
Well, yeah, I mean that was, but at the same time, don't forget it went along with a lot of similar heartbreak from other seasons,
Yeah,
from where the Bengals, made it to the playoffs and then just couldn't get anything done when they got there. Um, I mean, we had a great defense, maybe not an all-time great defense. I was actually, talking to somebody about this earlier today. But I mean, the Bengals had a great defense. That's why we were doing so well in the early 2010s, is because we had a great defense. And a lot of times we were hampered by, the offensive play and the fact that, love Andy Dalton, but quite often, we didn't take the next step because he wasn't able to get us there. Now there
yeah.
were plenty of times when, the defense didn't step up either. But at the end of the day, it was a great defense. It wasn't I mean, you can't put them up next to like, the Baltimore Ravens from 2000 or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2002 or like these great, amazing defenses of all time. Yeah, they weren't that good. But they were, for their time, a consistently top 10 defense year in and year out. And, and a big part of that was Geno Atkins. And Duke Tobin said it himself, the way he feels about Geno Atkins and the reason why they're interested in bringing him back. Geno is one of the greatest players in franchise history, one of the best defensive tackles of the last decade. He gave us what he had last year. We'll see if there's things that can be worked out. If it is, great. If not, I think we've got other guys who can fill the role. So, I mean, that's just, that's how they feel about the guy. And it might sound like, that's an honorary look because of what he used to be. But at the same time, if you can bring him back for, a reasonable salary cap number, that guy's got the kind of work ethic to, give you something. And if you're like, the thing is, it wouldn't have been quite so much of a problem if he had played the way he played last year, if he wasn't making the salary that he did. That was the biggest thing. Because it wasn't so much a problem that he was on the roster, because he was a fine like reserve option, if you look at it from that perspective. But because of what he was getting paid, it was just it was crippling to the rest of the team.
So, okay, I like this. So, so you saying Bengals? So basically, the Bengals have space to sign what you said is possibly possibly two major free agents.
Well, I think one major free agent, and then
One
maybe
major one.
maybe they could make another signing on top of that.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like, maybe they could go get like a Jadeveon Clowney or something like that.
First of all, y'all keep your hands off Clowney.
We're going to talk about you guys and Clowney here in a second.
Don't y'all dare take my man. Don't you lay your hands on my man.
Yeah, I know. Tom's been tweeting up a storm about Facebooking up a storm about Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, okay. So yeah,
I'm sure you've been talking about it on Twitter too, but
yeah, not as much as I did with Von Miller. I kind of embarrassed myself the whole Von Miller thing, so I kind
of. And then he just ended up going back to the Broncos.
Yeah, no, I was so.
The difference is The difference is, it doesn't seem like Jadeveon Clowney is really actually heavily valued anywhere he goes. Like, whereas Von Miller is like seen as a god in Denver.
And it's weird because Jadeveon Clowney is younger, and I don't know.
I wonder if he just like has a bad attitude or something like that. Like, is that why he keeps not sticking anywhere he goes? Because he's a good player.
I think it's the problem is that people had this image that Jadeveon Clowney was going to be this really great unstoppable force, and he's not as great as people thought he would be.
Well, yeah, that explains why he didn't last. Maybe explains why he didn't last in Houston. But why didn't he last in Seattle? Why didn't he last in Tennessee?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. This is a good question. We're gonna need a insider to of Jadeveon Clowney to come in to give us. I think that I don't know. I think that, like you said, it could be an attitude problem. But I'm not really, I'm not really hearing a lot of people saying that Jadavion Clowney have an attitude problem with the work ethic. Maybe he just hadn't found. I mean, he did get hurt. He did get hurt last year, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe that was enough for Seattle to kind of sour their taste for him. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Well, right. I'm not trying to suggest that Jadavion Clowney has an attitude problem. I don't know anything about the situation. I'm just asking. I'm trying to figure out why nobody seems to like. He seems to go places and then not continue to be wanted there. It's just weird to me. It's like you think because he's this very highly sought after free agent. He's considered like at least a tier 2 prospect by most people, if not a tier 1 prospect by some people. He's like he's gonna sign. If he does sign somewhere, he's gonna sign a pretty big contract. So he's doing enough to get people to be like, wow, this guy could really help our team, but not enough to like make the teams that actually had him want to keep him. At least enough to keep him around.
Yeah, so I mean,
weird.
It is very peculiar. I mean, maybe I
tell you what
though,
put Jadavion Clowney and Trey Hendrickson on the same line, and I wouldn't be too unhappy about that.
So anyway, going back to what we were saying, going back to the cap space situation with Cincinnati, they got to sign somebody on the offensive line though. If I'm them, I'm ignoring everything else and focus on beefing up the offensive line for long term. Maybe this is the issue that you got to solve long term because you got to invest your future into Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is your future. There's no doubt about it. Do whatever you can to make sure that man's protected. Excuse me. And they have done nothing this offseason so far to protect him. Do something to protect your quarterback. Do something to protect your franchise. Get freaking insurance. Get car insurance, you idiot. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the Bengals. Mike Brown, get car insurance.
Yeah. Well,
that's all I gotta say about it. It's a no-brainer. In fact, if I'm them, I'm getting two. If I'm them, I'm getting two. I'm getting two offensive linemen during this offseason. Two really solid ones. Somebody that probably want to break the banks, like maybe a mid-tier free agent, just somebody, depth signing type thing. Using our first round pick on Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts, and then using my second and third round pick on the offensive lineman. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that'd be too smart.
Well, I mean, I would definitely okay, so the Bengals have still, in my opinion, the Bengals still have some pretty key needs right now. They need at least one more weapon for Joe Burrow, I think.
Okay.
I think that's like a top tier weapon, whether it be Kyle Pitts, whether it be Jamar Chase, whether it be what have you. They need somebody in addition to Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins for Joe Burrow to throw the ball to. It can't just be him. And there are other options, of course. There's other good players on the team, but those are the only really two top tier players they have on the team. So that's one need. They also need offensive line. We all know they need offensive line. They really need some interior offensive line help. You saw the look of Joe Burrow writhing in pain on the floor and how much that. Yeah. I mean, y'all saw my reaction to that on this podcast.
Yeah,
it was heartbreaking to watch that. You don't want him to have to go through that again. So you got to go get something like that.
I want anybody.
You also need. I think we need another edge defender because we went out and got Trey Hendrickson. That's great. But we lost Carl Lawson. So it's like Trey Hendrickson's going to have the same damn problem next year that Carl Lawson had. And the idea that, it's going to be really hard to put up sack numbers like Trey Hendrickson did in New Orleans if he doesn't have anybody around him who can help generate pressure. That's like it's going to be damn near impossible for him to have the kind of season we're paying him to have if we don't put other help out there. Sam Hubbard ain't going to generate pressure like that. Maybe like the combination of Larry Ogunjobi and DJ Reader and like a returning Mike Daniels. Maybe there can be some decent interior pressure, but there's like nobody else on the edge who helps get some pressure, and that really concerns me. So it's like, we have to, and that's why, I've talked on this podcast about seeing if there's some way we go get Jalen Phillips. And I really like him as a prospect. And I know if you get like Jamar Chase in the first round, for example, and then somehow you get Jalen Phillips in the second round, then you're waiting until the third round to address offensive line. And that is a problem.
Yeah.
But again, you've got a little bit of cap space to maybe go address offensive line already. And I don't know. I think it'd be good for them to do that. But here's the thing: they're not doing that. They're not. Nobody is looking at free agency at all right now, and it's shut down. Free agency is virtually shut down until after the draft at this point. Like, nobody is looking at free agents. Nobody's bringing people in. If another signing is made, at all, I'll be kind of surprised, because it seems like everybody's just focusing on the draft right now. And it's not just the Bengals. It's not just anybody. It's everybody is focusing all of their attention on the draft. So unless some magical free agent were to pop out of nowhere and fall into their laps, there's probably nothing that's going to happen at this point. And most likely after the draft, everybody's going to reassess their roster needs and then, see, what's left as far as the bargain bin is considered. I would love to see the Bengals go out and make another offensive lineman signing before the draft. That way, you're not pigeonholed into needing something.
Yeah.
But right now, they're kind of doing that to themselves.
It's kind of, the Bengals are kind of in conundrum. It's like, you're like right there. You have some things here and there, but they're not all complete. And it's just the organicness of a rebuild. Like, realistically, we consider this year 3, because year 3 is Zach Taylor, right? So realistically, you're in year 3 of this rebuild. And right now, you have your franchise quarterback and a top 5 pick. You have T. Higgins as a really good receiver, probably maybe not be a number 1, maybe a if not a number 1, very, very solid number 2. I think he's a number 1 receiver personally, but I do think that you should pair him with another weapon, like you said. You have Joe Mixon, you have Joe Burrow, you will have a couple pieces on defense. But I would say you guys are in a really, really good place for y'all to be year 3 in a rebuild. And I think that next year y'all gonna be not gonna do the playoffs. But I think a mistake that the general managers of Cincinnati can have is not realizing what's going on. And I think they're being kind of impatient right here, because you don't want to sign bad contracts and then you stuck with these players who aren't ready for who aren't good for the long-term Cincinnati. But you also want to make sure you sign players that are going to grow with the team. They're going to grow organically with the team, that you can sign these contracts and you're not pigeonhole each other so you're on salary cap hell, because, in NFL, it's all about how you manage your salary cap. That's the biggest key to being sustainable in the NFL. So I kind of understand what the Bengals are doing here. They're trying to just make sure that they could find the right free agents at the right cost. Maybe that's waiting later in the game. And the longer you wait, maybe some of these free agents prices might come down. But they at least got, no matter what, they at least got to sign one offensive lineman free agent, right? Like, they at least got to sign one, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? Like, just one? Just give me one. Just give me one, Jesus. Just at least one. At the very least one. Very minimum, sign one this offseason.
I think so. I think, just to wrap up the Bengals real quick, I just want to say that you were talking about what the Bengals we don't really have a general manager. We have a director of player personnel, and that's Duke Tobin. But in general, I think this current era of Bengals, everything, it's not just Zach Taylor. I think everybody, the entire system, is really depending on this year to make things work. And if things don't work this year, if we have another bad season, there's not going to be any more talking about, oh, well, maybe they'll turn it around next year. No, this is going to be we have to at least be knocking on the door of the playoffs. I think we need to at least, if we're not at least 8-8 this year, I think it's time to admit that not just the Zach Taylor era, but the Duke Tobin era is possibly, a wash at this point. Like, I think it's time to start looking at completely overhauling. We overhauled the roster. Time to overhaul the front office. And I mean, that's such a difficult thing to say when it comes to the Bengals because they're such a family-oriented business, and who knows if they're actually going to do that. But it's just like just getting rid of Zach Taylor isn't going to be enough if things don't work out this year. It's going to have to be a complete I mean, if people stay along, they're going to have to completely commit to a whole new philosophy because the current one just hasn't been working. But I'll give it a chance. We'll see what happens this year. I'm not. I was defending Zach Taylor last year, so I'm not going to start jumping on the fire now bandwagon. We'll see what happens, but I will say it feels like they did almost enough in free agency so far, but not quite. And you're right, the offensive line is a big part of that. But let's go ahead and transition over to the Browns, who they currently have $13 million in cap space available. Decent amount less than the Bengals. And then after you consider all the draft picks that will need to be signed by them, that leaves them with about $5.8 million left to make some moves. Which I'm not trying to burst your bubble here, Thomas, but that's not really enough for any impact players. That's definitely not enough for Clowney, who I've seen his market value estimated anywhere from $13 million per year to on Spotrac. They got him listed as his market value currently is $6.5 million per year. And by the way, just a quick thing real quick, we'll get right back to Clowney. But I just want to point out to everybody, it's pronounced Spotrac. Okay, I don't know, like nobody seems to know how to pronounce the name of this website. Well, it's the name of it is Spo, as in sport track, like tracking sports. So it's Spotrac. So it's not Spot Track. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. It's Spotrac or Sputrack. Something like that. It's not Spot Track. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, getting back to Devion Clowney. Like I said, I don't want to burst your bubble, Thomas, but I think he might be out of Cleveland's price range.
It's fine.
Not out of the Bengals price range, though.
The team's fine. It's fine. I ain't worried. We're ready to go to the Super Bowl. We got Antonio Walker. Do that. I ain't worried about it. Shoot, where's my Bud Light? I ain't worried about it. You remember how like at the beginning of this podcast, my Bud Light was orange. Well, now I'm sitting here drinking a yellow Bud Light because I'm chilling.
Well, maybe he'll come here.
Browns fan ain't worried.
You know who are some guys that the Browns could afford though? It seems like the Browns still have a bit of a need at cornerback.
Maybe
not a severe one.
They just signed
some
safety
depth
and probably some depth. I'll give you depth. Yeah.
So guys who are currently available, who fit the Browns' price range: Nikel Roby-Coleman, Mackenzie Alexander, Garyon Conley, Rashad Breeland, AJ Bouye, Jason McCourty. All names of guys who, most of those guys you probably recognize, or at least you're actively familiar with their work, all of which you guys could probably afford. So, I mean, maybe you guys need to look, to the draft for some, extra help at edge instead of Clowney. But I think, you could definitely shore up a need by picking up one of these depth cornerbacks and basically taking that almost entirely off the draft board. AJ Bouye in particular, I don't understand how he's not been signed because I think he's a fantastic cornerback.
I think that if I'm the Browns, I'm looking. I think the Browns have done everything they needed to do in the offseason of applying depth to defense, corner, safety, line. Offense is fine. The offense is fine. I won't leave I want to do anything to the offense for real. Maybe I actually, I will get a receiver late in the later part of the draft, or like in the middle part of the draft, like a third or fourth round pick. Maybe possibly even a second round pick for a receiver, honestly. But that first pick in the draft would probably be somebody for on defense. You said corner. I like the idea of getting an edge. I think that we need to make sure we're getting a lot of pressure because we do play Lamar Jackson twice a year. And I just cannot get over the fact that who's the backup quarterback for Kansas City? Henne, Chad Henne. Yeah, we let Chad Henne in our season. So I when I think about those things, I'm just thinking about the fact that the Browns can do whatever they can to make sure that they help their edge out. So yeah, so I think that it's all about the edge. I think it's all about helping the edge. I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it. I think the Browns were very aggressive at the early part of free agency. And they got a lot of mid-tier free agents. I like to say, you said that you don't think they have space for another big name free agent. There's enough stars in this team for us to win. You got Myles Garrett, you got Denzel Ward, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Odell Beckham, you got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Just go out and fill out some depth. Just fill out the depth, like you said, depth signings, mid-tier players that will come in, make a play or two for you, but nothing big. I'm cool with that. Let's just get ready for the draft.
Well, like I said,
it'll be fun too, and it's a Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the cap space for Cleveland right now just does not allow for somebody like Klein to come. I mean, here's the thing. The Browns are in a position to do something like what the Bengals really couldn't do. Except for maybe, hey, you want to come play with Joe Burrow? This kid's got something special, and that has helped in a couple of cases. It almost got us Kenny Golladay until the Giants overpaid the shit out of him, which you can't compete with that kind of money. Like, it's just not going to happen. But one thing the Browns can do is be like, hey, look at us. We're a team on the rise. We might have a Super Bowl window coming up here. So, do you want to go take a ton of money to go play with a team like where would Clowney end up? The Ravens, for example, might need some edge help. You want to go play for a team like the Ravens that seems to be kind of in a playoff funk right now. They got this really exciting quarterback, but are they going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon? Doesn't really seem like it right now. And, who knows how long that, system's going to last up there. With a guy like Greg Roman, who has notoriously had his system built really innovative offensive systems in the NFL that get figured out pretty quickly. You want to go play with them for a ton of money, or do you want to maybe take a little bit less money, come here, fit into the salary cap restrictions we have, and be part of one of the most unbelievable Super Bowl stories you've ever heard in the Cleveland Browns going? Do you want to be a part of that, or do you want to be a part of a team that's just going to be middling for your entire time there? Come be a part of something special. That's something that you guys can do that a lot of us really can't do. The Bengals pretty much have to either sell you on Joe Burrow, which doesn't always work out, or they just have to overpay for guys.
Well, that's I wouldn't overpay for somebody yet because a lot of free agents that you guys will overpay for this year, I might not overpay for next year because of how the leap the Bengals want to make this year. I'm telling you, it's all coming. Get ready.
Well, maybe next year we'll be able to ask for that discount. I'm just saying right now it's not something we can do.
Sure.
So, You mentioned the Ravens.
Okay.
So getting sorry, dry throat. So you mentioned the Ravens as a as a team that the Browns need to be trying to prepare for. Part of the reason I say that that's a potential landing spot for Clowney is, like I said, they have a little bit of a need at edge right now because of
Yeah.
all the free agency nonsense that kind of went against them. I believe Matt Judon ended up with the Patriots, right?
I think so.
So despite the Ravens almost always one of the most aggressive teams in free agency across the NFL, year in, year out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this year they actually have they still have nearly $10 million in available cap space after taking draft picks into account, which is the most in the AFC North right now. The Ravens have been by far and away the least aggressive team in free agency so far this year, which is weird. It's so unlike them to not be active in free agency, but that's what they're doing this year. And you can kind of get it, because of like the weirdness with contracts and everything. Maybe some teams are going to be less interested in participating in free agency this particular year, but once the cap goes back up, they'll be more into it. But it is just it's weird to me to see the Ravens as one of the most conservative teams in free agency this year. And maybe that by itself makes it less weird that the Bengals have been so aggressive, because it's just like, well, I mean, everybody's doing everything weird this year.
It's almost like the Ravens are not committed to the quarterback.
I don't know about that. I think they're having trouble selling Lamar Jackson, honestly.
That might be what it is. Hey,
I think it's
Lamar
more bad.
Jackson.
That's actually a big part of why I've heard that people haven't been, like wide receivers in particular, haven't been signing with them because they feel like Lamar Jackson isn't going to be good for their careers.
That's crazy, man.
Well,
like, how you gonna be a quarterback and receivers are afraid? Like, I don't want to play with him. He want to throw me the ball.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. Because the Ravens have such a run-oriented offense. A lot of wide receivers are like, well, if I go here, I'm not gonna. Because right now, a lot of guys are taking 1-year deals to try to weather the whole COVID financial storm that's kind of making contracts a little bit lesser this year. And so a lot of guys are taking 1-year contracts to be like, okay, I'm going to get through this year, then I'm going to come back next year, and that's when I'm going to make my big money. And I think a lot of wide receivers in particular are avoiding the Ravens this year because they're like, okay, the whole idea is to go play 1 year and make more money for next year. How am I going to do that if I go to Baltimore and they don't throw me the ball?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the receivers can become running backs.
Well, their quarterback's already running back, so. So on the other end of the AFC North, as I alluded to in our intro, the Steelers are
still suck.
Yeah, they still suck. Part of the reason they suck is because they are absolutely unbelievably cash strapped right now.
Yeah,
they've got under $4.5 million in available funds, and that's after taking draft picks into account. And that's also considering the $15.3 million they saved by restructuring Ben Roethlisberger's contract. So $10 million, over like $11 million of the $15.3 million that they saved in restructuring Roethlisberger's contract, $11 million of that was just to get back to zero on the salary cap. So right now they have about $4.5 million available, and that's it. So they can't do anything. I mean, they can maybe go like sign, a like a lesser known offensive lineman, which they might need to, by the way, because their offensive line's looking rough right now.
It's gonna be a field day going after Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh yeah, I actually I kind of lament the fact that the Bengals' defensive line is currently one of their weak spots, because it kind of seems like, if there was any year to try to bully the rest of the AFC North with a solid defensive line, it would be this year. So
I can't, man. I can't wait till the Browns beat the Steelers by 30, Steven.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait until the Bengals start beating the Steelers' asses. That's I'm so fucking jealous of the Browns right now. Like,
oh, the
I'm
Steelers
glad you guys got that. I know it must feel amazing, but like, god damn it, I want to see the Bengals do that.
Dude, I fear the Steelers more. I fear the Bengals more than I fear the Ravens and Steelers.
Well, right now, yeah. I mean, it's just the Steelers are collapsing. Like everybody in the NFL, like analysts around the league are trying to figure out what the hell the Steelers were thinking. Like nobody is like high on the Steelers going forward right now. Like everybody recognizes. Like when I say the Steelers still suck, it kind of started as just like a jab at the Steelers, but right now it's accurate. It's like I'm being serious. The Steelers do still suck, and I'm saying that because I'm a petty asshole. But I mean, the reality of the situation is I'm not wrong. The Steelers really do suck right now, and it's beautiful, by the way.
It's great. Because Steelers fans are so quiet, and they're the worst. They're the worst.
It is a nice change.
Oh, thank God. Oh, how you doing?
I don't know how long they're going to stay down for, but they are definitely down right now. And
we're going to kick them while they're down.
Yeah, they've been kind of a laughing stock since about 2018 when they kind of were the soap opera version of the Steelers. Pretty much ever since 2018, it's just been a free fall for the Steelers, and
they're going to re-sign Juju.
Second of it.
Yeah.
Right? What?
They're going to re-sign Juju. Stupid.
Yeah. I think that's honestly that's kind of stupid for the Steelers, but I think it's more stupid for Juju. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by going back to the Steelers.
I think his career is about to be over soon.
I don't know if his career is about to be over, but I definitely think I think he could have had an opportunity to turn himself into like a highly desired wide receiver, like going into free agency, if he had gone with like a better team. But because he went with the Steelers, I think next year in free agency, it's going to be similar to this year where everybody's like, oh, well, he's a really talented wide receiver, but like, do we really want to pay him what his market value probably is? No, not really. And then you kind of end up in a situation where you've got to re-sign with the Steelers because nobody really wants you. Yeah, I think if he had gone to if Juju had gone to like maybe not the Bills because they seem to be stocking up on wide receivers right now, but like what's a good neat team that's like the Packers. If Juju had gone to the Packers or something,
I want him to go to the Patriots.
That would have been another good option.
I said they would have been
Packers, maybe the Saints. To be kind of a well, maybe not now that Drew Brees is retired. Anyway, point being, there's a lot of different places that I think Juju could have gone that would have been better for his career long term than the Steelers. I'm not sure what he was thinking by going back to the Steelers. Maybe it was just like legitimately nobody wanted him.
I think
that's kind of what you get for doing the whole dumbass TikTok thing and then not being able to back it up. But
what an idiot.
Yeah.
What an idiot. What an idiot. He's such an idiot.
Yeah. I'm glad he's going back to the Steelers because that's just like that makes
everybody in your division hates you. Everybody in your division, every single time you play a game, people gonna have a target on you because nobody likes you. And then Claypool, you know better either. So like
Claypool's at least a really talented guy. Like to an extent, I feel like Claypool can at least back up as trash talk. Juju rarely ever backs up.
Last two seasons have not been good, man. I had him on my fantasy team too, and he's just been trash my fantasy team. That's probably where my hate for Juju stems from. The fact that I gave you a chance on my fantasy team and you didn't perform. So I'm pissed off. Yeah. Because that was $150 that I'm never getting back. Thank you, Juju. and I'm a broke person, so $150 meant something to me. Maybe not to you, because you just pissing them away making TikTok videos. I'm trying to get famous with my TikTok videos, not lose fame for my TikTok videos.
But I participated in a paid fantasy league last year. The buy-in was $10. So I don't know why did you lose $150? That's It's a lot of money to spend on a fantasy league, bro.
Yeah, it is. It gets intense too. It is really intense too.
God
It
damn.
is really intense. I was so mad when I didn't get Russell Wilson as my quarterback too. He had such a good year. Oh man. Actually, I can't remember who my quarterback was. Thinking about it, who was my quarterback last year?
I had Josh Allen. That was a good decision.
Who was my quarterback? My fantasy basketball team's doing well though, but that's only a $10 buy-in for that one. So, you know.
I'll be honest. I can't even wrap my head around any fantasy sports outside of fantasy football. And not that I can't imagine why they exist or how they exist or anything like that. That's the only one that I've actually played that I actually know anything about. I imagine fantasy basketball would have something to do with like if a guy gets like a basket, then he gets fantasy points, or like if he gets like a block or a steal or something like that, he gets fantasy points. But I've never participated. I did briefly try to participate in fantasy soccer, but I once again just couldn't wrap my head around it, so I just stopped.
I mean,
soccer's got some of the most complicated ass like fucking statistics. Like,
dude, because
I love soccer. I grew up playing soccer. I like watching soccer. You know, Cincinnati just got a new team a couple of years ago. You know, it's new, exciting, it's interesting, but like, man, it's just like trying to keep up with it is almost like trying to learn baseball from nothing.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't like soccer. I don't like it. I just don't watch it. I mean, I don't know.
I love soccer.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that I'm Afro-American.
There's plenty of black people on like on FC Cincinnati, for example.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
Man, like I'm sorry. Like, let's be real. Like, okay, you know what? Look, this is gonna be the first time that we're gonna bring up race, and probably the last time we're ever gonna bring up race on this podcast. But how many times have you been in the hood and somebody like saying, I want to be like Mike, said, I want to be like Ronaldo. Look at me be like Ronaldo.
Plenty of people say that. Maybe not people. Maybe not in Cleveland. Yeah, maybe not in Cleveland. Yeah, depending on which hood.
Okay, maybe. Let me not sell people short, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't growing up. I wanted to be like Mike. I want to be like AI. I want to be like freaking T.O. or Randy Moss or Mike Vick or LeBron James. Or at the very least, Michael Phelps. But Ronaldo, I want to be like Ronaldo.
I want to be like Messi.
Okay, Messi is pretty awesome.
Messi's cool.
Messi is
great. Ronaldo is. I love playing with Ronaldo on FIFA just because his skill set. Like, I mean, you can score a goal from midfield with Ronaldo. It's great. I mean, you have to be really good at the game yourself, but you can do it. But like, he's a dick though. Messi's a cool guy, and he's insane, like talent-wise.
What's the one black guy who watched this podcast go like, I always wanted to be like Ronaldo. One black guy.
I hope we have more than one black person listening.
But... Me too, personally. I hope we have at least 10. But
at least 10. Well, you know what we have right now? We have 13 subscribers. So if 10 of those guys are black,
out of 13
that's
were
pretty
black.
impressive.
Yeah, I'll be proud of our ratio.
Okay. That's
go us.
Yeah, go us. Wow. Speculating on the racial divide of our 10 listeners.
All right, we're off topic. What we're talking about?
We are insanely off topic, and we're over time as well. So
the Steelers still suck.
The Steelers do still suck. Yeah, maybe if they listen to our podcast more, they would get ideas about how they can stop sucking, because we keep saying it. We keep saying this is why the Steelers still suck. So if you listen to us, maybe they would hear, oh, this is why we suck. We should stop doing this. Because if they listen to our podcast, they realize, oh, we shouldn't re-sign Ben Roethlisberger. We shouldn't re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. And if you go back and listen to those episodes, you'll hear me be like, I don't want to say that the Steelers shouldn't re-sign Ben Roethlisberger because it would help them, and I don't want to help them. But that is what they should do.
Yep, you said that.
I did. I did. So, like, Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the organization, you should listen to our podcast because we would tell you how to not tank your team, which is what you're doing right now.
We tell you how not to be dumbasses.
Yeah. I don't think we're quite as good at telling like our own teams how to not be dumbasses, but we're pretty good at telling the Steelers how not to be dumbasses, and they just don't listen to us.
I hope the Steelers suck for the next 20 years.
That would be great. Yeah.
And I go through exactly what the Browns just went through. Because I freaking hate Pittsburgh. Okay, it's not bad. But I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, that franchise. Actually, you know what? No. I'd rather that happen to the Ravens. I would much rather that happen to the Ravens.
Yeah, I would rather it happen to the Steelers. I think I said this when we had Zach on, and I think I've said it more than one time. I think I've said it a couple of times, but personally, I don't have really like that much. Like, even though they're division rivals, and there will always be that fact that they're division rivals, but beyond that, I personally have no problem with the Ravens. I kind of like their color scheme. I've liked a lot of the players that played for them. I've never really had a problem with the Ravens. I don't like it when teams move, but I mean, at the same time, the city of Baltimore had the same thing happen to them, so it's not like they're all take and no give. They gave the Colts away.
Nah, man. Up here, like, we talked about this. They stole our car, took it to car shows. We want to steal our neighbor's car, take it to car shows, so everybody brag about how great our car is that we stole from Cleveland. Now let's talk about how bad Cleveland is, even though we stole something from them.
Well, I mean, you know what? In their defense, which this honestly, this doesn't have anything to do with Baltimore. I think Cleveland should get at least partial credit for that Super Bowl in 2000, because that Super Bowl team was built with a lot of what the Cleveland Browns were at the time. You don't get that 2000 Super Bowl, like that 2000 Ravens Super Bowl team, without a lot of the foundation that was built in Cleveland.
Trust me, I know.
But at the same time, in their defense, it never actually connected in Cleveland. There were a couple of times it looked like it was going to, and then Ernest Byner.
The drive happened. The drive happened.
Yeah.
Then then they fumbled it, or they red right 88 it. So freaking frustrating. Even though I wasn't alive for those instances.
Well, you know what? I wasn't alive for the Bengals Super Bowl loss in 1988, but I still get pissed off when I think about Lewis Phillips dropping the interception of Joe Montana in the end zone.
Yeah, why didn't y'all beat Joe Montana?
Because he's a lucky ass douchebag. Fake ass goat.
Yeah, the goat's Brady, bro.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There and pretty much only like people who are bitter at Brady anymore are the ones who are still saying that Joe Montana is the GOAT. That and like old heads who don't want to admit that anything from today is like better than what they had.
Back in the 80s, lighting was better. How does that even make sense? Lighting was better in the 80s? Really? That's how y'all old heads sound. Y'all be talking about how great the freaking 80s, 60s, and 70s were, man. It's not better. It's just that you guys just have nostalgia, and nostalgia make things seem better than what it is. Like this drink, for example, right? If they stop making this drink after this year, and I only had it once. For the rest of my life, I won't be thinking to myself, I wonder, I never gonna forget when I got to drink a Bud Light Lemon on the podcast. What a great time. But the possibility of this being the best beer that's ever going to be created of all time is very, very minute.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine you currently think that it's the best beer that's ever been made.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at. It's the same thing with people who are who are nostalgic of the past, where they argue that the past is better than modern day stuff. Because I want the people who think that things evolve. So I think that the modern game in the NFL is more entertaining to watch than the 80s version of NFL. Because I think that the NFL have evolved every single year, as well as everything in life. Everything in life evolves. So everything goes forward. So it might not seem that something is better because everything evolves, but I mean, like, we're both students of history, Kyle. So, I mean, like, you probably understand where I'm coming from in this. I think long term, everything always evolves and become better over time. Like, it elevates. Something new happens. You have an iPhone 5, the iPhone 7 is going to be better because after 2 years, 3 years, they have better technology. They understand how things work, how to build things. Same thing with the NFL. Each year, people find new schemes and new ways to score touchdowns, to drive the ball down the field, to have a better offense, as well as having a better defense. So every year, defenses and offenses have to adjust to the new style of the NFL. The style has never been seen before. It's creativity. Creativity always create and push the game forward. So you don't want the same game every year. You want a new game every year. And the fact that the NFL has evolved, it's just a greater thing. Somebody's going to outstage Tom Brady. Somebody's going to outstage Michael Jordan and LeBron James. It's the evolution of sports. And not only that, athletes are stronger now. Athletes are faster now. Athletes are more athletic now, and they're more durable now, and they're lasting longer than ever. So when somebody tells you that the game in the 80s and the 70s is better than the game today, I would respectfully disagree with them because I personally am somebody who believes that everything evolves over time, things get better. And I think if the game is as good as it was in the 80s, then the NFL have not evolved since the 80s. And I think it has. And I enjoy watching old NFL games, but I prefer the modern style of play because I think the modern style of play has evolved to a level in which we have never seen in NFL, which makes it the most watched sport in America. I don't know. It's just, that's just a weird theory.
You know who hasn't evolved to the modern day, Thomas?
Is it the coach of the Oakland Raiders? I'm sorry, Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, I mean, yeah, him too, John Gruden. He's definitely seems like he's still trying to do things like it's 2002. But you know who else hasn't evolved to the modern day? That's Pittsburgh Steelers fans, who still seem to think that it is currently 2008.
Yeet.
I guess they haven't changed their calendar in, what is it, 13 years at this point?
They got that roller coaster in Kennywood.
They still think Ben Roethlisberger's an elite quarterback. They still think that their sixth Super Bowl ring is a massive accomplishment that sets them ahead from the rest of the NFL.
It feels like the Browns are walkovers.
That matters to anything that's going on today.
I mean, I feel bad for them.
I don't.
They got a lot of pain coming for them. A lot.
Good.
A lot.
Good. I look forward to it.
I look forward to it too because I think that Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield are going to be the kings of the North.
I think so. And as we've said many times before, that's why we're doing this podcast, because we smell a change of power coming here soon.
By the way, I was watching the NFL Network play both the games. I think it was Sunday night. They played both the games. Between the Browns and the Bengals. And let me say, both those games are really good. I'll tell you, man, Like I'm telling you, like there's just something different when two Heisman winners play against each other. There's just something, man. There's something about it. There's just something different about it. They seem more hungry. They seem more hungry, especially like when, or like even like when Baker Mayfield plays against Patrick Mahomes or when Lamar played against Patrick Mahomes, because they were all like popular in college at the same time. So like they just have that it's just the extra incentive to beat each other because of like the history that each one of them have tied into each other. Like that's what I love about the Baker Mayfield versus Lamar matchup or the Baker Mayfield versus Joe Burrow matchup. And that's why it's gonna be so much fun because they have two like similar but different playing styles, but they're gonna I think this Baker Mayfield versus Joe Burrow is gonna be something that the sports writers are gonna be talking about for years to come. I promise you. And I'm so blessed to have seen that game where Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow both threw 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That was just nuts. That was just nuts, man.
It definitely will be a lot of fun to watch going forward, but I think we are. I think we're pretty much done talking about it today because it is currently 11:30 at night. So I think we've been. I think we're going a little bit long here, and B, on top of that, I need to go to bed at some point. So I think we'll go ahead and finish that up today. We'll be back at you next week with another episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. At some point, me and Thomas are going to be doing a live mock draft, most likely on Facebook Live, maybe on YouTube Live if we can figure that out. But we'll be doing it live somewhere because mock draft season is, it's kind of more or less always mock draft season, but really trying to come time to when we try to figure out exactly what's going to happen in the draft. You know, we're post free agency now. We're really kind of getting to the point where not a whole lot more is going to change. So it's going to be time to get into the meat potatoes of figuring out exactly what's going to happen in the draft and try to process who we think is going to be part of the roster going forward. But anyway, like I said, thanks for listening, everybody. We will figure out when that's going to happen, but until then, you can follow both of us for more information on what we're going to be doing, and in addition to that, just more content, just based on following our tweets, following our conversations, what we're talking about, and stuff like that. You can find me at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/The Phelps. You can find Thomas at T_star94 on both Twitter and Instagram, and then also follow his YouTube page, Blowdown Page.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for us tonight, Thomas. So I'll leave y'all with a who day. So a bit of breaking news on the Bengals front. Not breaking news for you guys, breaking news for me, because it's currently Wednesday, April 7th, about 8 o'clock p.m. And this happened a couple hours ago, so it's not super breaking for me, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a my reaction to the Bengals releasing Giovanni Bernard. Man, this one hurts. This one, if you guys can't tell, I am a big Giovanni Bernard fan. So this one hurts. But I understand it. His salary, I know his salary was a little out of control for basically the role that he was playing, which is, basically backup running back. He was due to have like a $5 million cap hit this year, which is a little much for a guy who you hope doesn't see the field too much because you're hoping Joe Mixon's taking the field. Not to mention he's 29. He's going to be 30 this year. For a running back, he's kind of getting up there in age. I thought personally that you could cut him, but you didn't have to cut him because he's a great leader. Guys love him. He's a really good veteran presence on that team. And not to mention, he's one of the guys who's been really, having Zach Taylor's back this whole time. From what I understand, basically what happened is the Bengals asked him to take a pay cut, and he was like, "No, just release me," which, I understand both sides of that. You're making a little bit too much for the role that you're currently playing, and on the other end of that, it's like, no, I'm not gonna like suddenly take less money when I haven't made like this isn't like Tom Brady having made just insane amounts of money throughout his career. I mean, he's made plenty of money. It's not like Giovanni Bernard is going to be hurting, and I assume he's made smart investments and stuff like that. So it's not like he's going to be hurting in his life for money. But he also hasn't been making the top of the top of the top of running back salary this whole time. So I can imagine why he'd be like, no, guys, you guys, don't really seem like you need me right now. Kind of wondering whether you want me or not. And if you're asking me to take a pay cut, well, why don't we just go ahead and part ways? And then this way he can get a chance to get on with another team who could maybe use a discount running back. Getting a little up there in age, but still got some shiftiness. And because he hasn't been quite as heavily utilized in Cincinnati because he's, mostly been a backup his whole career, you'd think maybe he's got a little bit left in the tank. So I could see somebody taking a flyer on him. But I understand why they cut him. I don't disagree with the move, but it is a heartbreaking one. And I am very sad to see one of my favorite Bengals players of all time leaving the team. So, best of luck, Giovanni Bernard. And yep. Sad to see you go.